We're here at Planet M. Thank you, Kate Marks, for coming today. You're a filmmaker. You, like myself, do directing and writing. It looks like every single film that you have done that, right?
Yes, yeah.
So how many films have you put together?
Well, I've made 4 kind of fully crewed up, fully produced films, and then I have a couple more that are just more like projects.
Okay. The latest one is Miracle Maker, right? And has that been released yet?
I just finished it about a month ago.
Okay, the trailer is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
Can you give us kind of the synopsis of that?
Yes, so it's about a 12-year-old boy who's having a very bad summer, and he's helping his uncle sell vacuums. So he's kind of the one that has to do the demo and vacuum the dirty rug while his uncle does the pitch. And he's while he's doing this, his dad is sick in the hospital, and they're at one of these houses, and he hears about a miracle maker. So he gets this plan to kind of reroute their car to this miracle maker's house. And
what is a miracle maker?
Like a person who performs miracles.
Okay.
So
it's not necessarily. Is it true? I mean, obviously they say Jesus Christ did that. But
Yeah. So he gets there and she's kind of really washed up, and really it's a defunct miracle maker.
Tired one?
Yeah. So she's overwhelmed with a world that needs miracles, and she hasn't really performed a miracle in a long time, and he kind of has to beg for his miracle. And
well, before you tell all of it,
Yeah.
I have 2 questions. How do you end up with the vacuum idea and then the miracle maker? Both really clever ideas.
Yeah. Well, the vacuum cleaner story comes from my fiance, who
Sells vacuums?
when he was a kid, he helped his uncle sell vacuums.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I actually I started out with that story, and I was just kind of following that story and their relationship and between the uncle and the nephew. And while that was happening, I started to think, like, why is he helping his uncle sell vacuums? What else is going on in his life? And at the same time that I was writing this film, my dad became diagnosed with cancer. So then it sort of became like this.
You wanted a miracle maker.
Yeah, so it was like I kind of was this 12-year-old boy. So it was just sort of a merging of these 2 lives, like 2 stories.
Well, the thing that stood out when I was trying to pick a filmmaker to interview in the beginning of the series is your characters. Like, it's not just the writing, it's the way you cast these people. You have such an individual, unique casting ability. And I assume you casted it because you had it in your head, and it's a short film, right? So how did you find these very unique characters?
Well, I was working at Cast, which is based down in, and actually the boy who plays the main character, he came in for an audition for something else, and I was just like, oh, he's perfect, and I kind of roped him in to this.
Okay.
And I knew right away that it had to be him, and then. Similarly,
I think more than the actors that I'm interested in is that you have in your mind kind of a unique ability to find individuals that aren't like the average casting.
Yeah.
And is it something that you have in your head when you're writing those characters, or is it just that you see that person, you know it's going to be kind of a little bit offbeat?
Yeah, I'm interested in people that are kind of misfits and clowns and like
You
people,
were a clown.
Yeah, and so people who kind of, they want to join the party but they don't know how, or they're, they're kind of feel invisible, or, so yeah, I'm not interested in telling stories about beautiful romances. And,
Okay.
I'm really interested in like the underdog and the underbelly, and yeah.
And it's wonderful because it shows and reflects in the filmmaking. So when I read in your bio that you used to be a clown, so having performed as a clown, has that affected how you've done your filmmaking?
Yeah. Well, the kind of clown that I studied was. A teacher named Chris Bays, and it's like character clowning. So it's really about not knowing the rules of the world and not, being in that space where you're really open and you really, you know nothing. It's kind of like a very wide-eyed sort of, you take nothing for granted kind of.
I never knew clowns actually, they were studying to be a clown, and there were actually different types of clowns.
Yeah. So this is the teacher that I had taken a class with. His name's Chris Bays, and it's a very like, it's I think it's fairly become more popular in the last 10 years. Maybe.
If you want to be a clown.
Yeah.
Before we go on to the film, 7 Day Gig, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was on PBS, right? At Palm Springs, Sarasota, Queen World Film Festival. You were a theater director in New York City.
Yes.
And I assume it's offbeat, off Broadway, right?
Off, yeah.
Oh yeah, off. And did that ability to be able to direct theater help you as a director, as a film?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, because theater directing, you don't have the camera, so you have to learn how to, direct focus without it, and it's just the very basic of storytelling. Like, you have to be able to tell it all in real time without any start overs. And so I think it does have, it was a really great training. And also just working with actors and...
But theater, often, it's a little bit more over-the-top acting, so you have to tone it down for filmmaking. You must have seen that. But the other thing that I thought was unique, you really do have a POV. You again have your individual creative print. I could really tell when I'm looking at your short films. Theater is totally different. I mean, you have an eye, like with the 7 Day Gig, to have the girl go into with all the toys, and you just to find her going through there. I thought that was such a unique shot.
Oh, thanks.
How did you make the transition from theater to film? As seeing that?
Well, the kind of theater I was doing was really physical theater, and it was a little bit abstract. So I got kind of tired of always doing stuff with human bodies. It would be like a lot of choreography, and so it was very visual. And I always had wanted to work in film, but I never knew any of the film language, or so it was kind of that part of it. That part of the transition was really fun, because I'd always wanted to be able to kind of have that much control over the visual world, but working in off Broadway, where you're working with really small budgets, the only way I really could do that was with choreography and human bodies. So it was kind of just like everything just opened up for me when I had, you have so many more tools.
As a filmmaker, how did you get the funding for your short films? And then 2, how do you get them out there?
So the first 3 films that I made, I made at CalArts. There's a couple grants available through the school that I would apply for, and the Sarah Jacobson film grant I got for one of them. So I would get small grants here and there, and then use, in the first 3 years I used a lot of my student loan money to make my films.
So the struggling artist, as, almost every filmmaker or artist is.
Yeah. And then the one that I made most recently, I did through Project Involve at Film Independent, and they give you a small budget, and then we raised a little bit on top of it through Indiegogo, but that was really great, because we didn't have to raise the money for that one.
Did PBS give you any money for your film?
I guess it was funded by the Minority Consortia, which is through PBS, and also Film Independent.
As a woman filmmaker, what do you think? I mean, they were just talking about Cannes Film Festival. I don't think a woman has been nominated for films, like they said, maybe 3 years, but it's just very uncommon.
Yeah.
Especially in the world platform. In Sundance recently, they had almost half female filmmakers versus male.
Yeah. I think it's really an exciting time to be a female filmmaker, because, I think with the way things became, digital filmmaking, it made it more accessible, and it kind of, it just made it easier to get your hands on a camera. And I think that there's, it's a perspective that's been missing from films for so long. And people are really excited and hungry for fresh stories. And so I think it's a great time to be a filmmaker. I'm really excited that, we're in this age where...
that everybody's open. I agree as a female filmmaker. But I have noticed that I think that more opportunities in, let's say, the more general commercial sense usually go to male. And what do you think as a female? Have you tried to make a longer feature with some of these great ideas that you have in the short film?
No, I haven't yet. So we'll see how...
Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, definitely. That's my goal, is to make a feature.
And do you have the ideas already, or are they the ideas that you have in some of these latest 2 great short films?
Well, I'm actually working on something right now that's, I guess, a TV show. And then I have a couple of ideas for features, but I haven't really started going, working on them a lot yet.
And you're a teacher as well, right?
Yes,
and what do you teach?
Yeah, I teach filmmaking.
Oh, great. And where do you teach?
It's a program that works with alternative high schools called Artworks LA. And so I have 10-week residencies in alternative high schools in LA. And then also...
Phenomenal. To help young filmmakers and get them inspired and show them the skills?
Yep, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I do that through a couple other organizations too. One is Urban Arts, and that's middle school, and also LACMA has a lot of filmmaking programs that they're getting up off the ground, or so I teach a lot of classes for them as well.
That's impressive. I've been asking everybody a really important question to me, the spiritual side and the creative side. Is there a feeling like when you're directing where you know that you got the right take or you got the right edit where you're creating and there's just a feeling that it feels right?
Yeah, well, I've always done this, like when I'm watching a take or when I'm editing, I'll start to imitate the emotions of the actors. So I'll be like I can feel my face and my body kind of like almost as if I'm that person. So that's kind of when I know that the scene is working or the take is working.
Wow, that is great. And what about in creating ideas? Where do you think your ideas come from? One, you told me your boyfriend is in the vacuum business.
Yeah.
But when you're putting the whole script together and then actually seeing it come into fruition?
Yeah. I think it's different for all of them. So Pearl was here, which is the one about the claw machine. I knew I wanted to write about an 8-year-old girl because I really loved that age. And so I just knew, I really want to write about an 8-year-old girl. And I knew that I was really interested in girls who've been through child abuse. But I was like, I don't want to, how am I going to tell that story? I don't know how I'm going to tell that it's such a hard story for people to watch. But then I was listening to the radio and there was like a story about a kid who went in a claw machine and didn't want to come out. And I just knew right away, oh, that's the perfect way to tell the story because it's funny and it's cute and it's a little disarming.
But then when you sat down to write it, did it just kind of come through?
Yeah.
You could hear the characters?
Yeah.
It just happened?
Yeah, so that one was like, it's all there. It just came in a blast. But some of them are, another one I just had an image of a woman in a tiny house. And that was all I had. And I just wrote the film from that image. And then Miracle Maker was kind of, it was just like this curvy road that I just followed and got, So I think it's all they're all different.
So the last 2 questions. 1, is there something spiritual you feel about the artistic process? And 2, what would you say for up and coming filmmakers to do? So
I think the artistic process puts you in the present moment. So that is always, whenever you're really present in something, I feel like that is your, a spiritual experience. And I'm always, I'm really curious, always like, what is the meaning of things? Like, what is the purpose of things? So that's another sort of spiritual question I'm always asking, and when I'm thinking of what I'm going to write about.
That's wonderful.
And
And what would you say that would be the most useful tip for a filmmaker if they were watching today, seeing you have put together quite a resume of short films along with your theater directing? What would be the one thing that you would like to inspire them with?
You just, I mean, just to keep going. I guess just keep going, you know, yeah, every single thing that you do, you learn in, and
To never give up?
yeah, I mean,
No matter
that's
how
so-
much you struggle,
that's-
maybe financially,
Yeah.
or there are roadblocks,
yeah,
you got to keep doing?
yeah, to use your limitations and like work with them, because those will sometimes be what points you in the right direction, and to just keep the car moving forward.
Thank you, Kate. It was really, really appreciate you being
Thank you.
here today.
Thank you for
Planning it out.
having me.